Hi, this is Michael Wan, News Director for Radio Korea.
Hello, my name is Young Kim. I am the Contents Director. I keep forgetting my title.
Did you forget it?
Yeah, thank you for joining us on Culture Shock. You know what? We're going to go back a few generations now. We're actually was down a few generations.
Yeah, because we decided to talk with the young ones. You know, we
keep talking to old people.
And we thought we were getting old, right?
Yeah.
By talking with, so
all these old folks are driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Joining us today are two members of the, what is it?
Okay, it's Korean Career-Oriented Student Organization.
Yes.
And we have the president, Andrew Kim, here, and also the soon to be vice president of the organization, Chloe Seo.
Oh, so you're soon to be vice president.
Vice president.
Okay, so we have Andrew and also Chloe. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And then you guys are currently students of USC.
Yes.
University of Spoiled Children.
Oh yeah. I didn't know that until he told me that. I didn't know that. Do all the students know about it?
Yeah, it's a commonly known acronym.
Because I'll be honest,
UCLA.
I went to report in UCLA and USC, and the cards are different. I have to tell you. I'll be honest.
The cost is different. The tuition is different. Everything's different. No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, USC does offer some of the best alumni programs.
Closer, yeah.
So I mean, if you ever go to USC, that you'll notice that it has a good 선후배 or alumni program, and you'll have a lot of support. I think from your older classmates who've been there. So,
It's like the Trojan Network.
Yeah.
So they're very proud of it.
It really is. No, it's really second to none. Yeah, a lot of people say that.
How did you like it when we stopped by there and did our greetings and we talked about Radio Korea? We wanted to get.
It was a really good time. I think every semester our organization is looking for company events, and we invite companies over, and we try to diversify the range of companies that we want to invite to USC. And it was our first time, I think, bringing a communication network, media network company to talk to us, and it was a unique experience where we have a couple communication majors in our organization, and it was a really good time to just learn more about like how Radio Korea has a really big impact on the Korean community in LA.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever listen to Radio Korea afterwards, or did you check out our website just out of curiosity?
Don't be honest. Just make something up, dude. Just you're on TV, man.
Sounds like a threat.
It was actually very funny because I got an assignment that asked, do you know anything about, pick a certain cultural group, and it said, do you know anything about any news, radio, media that's related to that cultural group? So I did write think about Radio Korea. And
what
I was
a coincidence.
This is great timing. Yeah, it was great timing.
It was truly a culture shock for both of us. We both said that after, we talked with you.
I never felt so old.
Yeah.
I was I went into a period of depression for about 2 weeks after I met you.
I kind of felt that way too.
We were
because I think the way you consume the news is completely different from us. It's really different, and I felt, it's really different. We just go to the news source, original source like New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, Fox News, but it's more TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. Not even Facebook, right? You two don't even
outdated.
use Facebook, right? So, we felt dated, man. Because
the question that I asked, I was like, okay, how many of you guys know Radio Korea? Everyone raised their hands, and I was like, all right, good start, right? So how many of you guys listen to Radio Korea? I was like,
this is
one.
And then I was like, oh my God, there wasn't even one, dude. And then I asked the question, how many of you guys listen to radio? No one raised their hands. That's when I was like,
You're right.
Oh my God, I'm old.
You don't listen to AM radio at all, right?
It's like me listening to like shortwave radio. Come on, dude.
My mom listens to it whenever
Your mom
I'm in the car with
listens
her.
to it,
Yeah, but
okay.
I don't think I personally.
You always wondered who are the people who listens to AM, huh? Right?
Exactly.
But seriously, that was the case with me and my parents too. When I was 8 or 9 years, maybe I was 10 or 11 years old. When we were in the car, I never listened to Radio Korea to be.
Okay. I mean, you're just
sorry.
Honest. You're just
I mean,
honest.
since I was young, I want to listen to Kiss FM or
right.
Power 106 or something like that.
Yeah, it's more about the first generation kind of a station. But now we're doing English show.
Yeah.
And we're trying to branch out to the second gens.
And it's
third
on YouTube
gens.
too.
It's
You know
on
what YouTube is, right?
At least, we're doing a format where they...
Or is that old
they
already?
know.
No.
Maybe we should do it on
big.
TikTok.
You know what they said before this
Like 2-second shows.
They said they checked out our show.
Oh, really?
So,
Yeah.
that's okay.
I'm so honored. Thank you so much.
We feel very flattered.
Are you guys subscribed?
Yeah.
Are you subscribed?
I don't have a YouTube account.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, I don't.
What kind of bull excuse is that, dude? It's like she straight out said, I don't have a YouTube account.
Hey, you're about to graduate, right?
No, I'm a sophomore. We're both sophomores.
Oh, okay.
He's not that old.
No, he gets that a lot.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I'm like, everyone asks me, it's like, are you a senior? I'm
No,
like,
because it's that season, May, right?
Yeah.
No?
It
right?
is, yeah.
It is, right?
Hey,
So,
Drew, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Drew, you're from Korea, right?
Yes, I'm from Korea.
Okay, and you went to international school.
All the way up until middle school, from elementary, middle school.
And then you're a native of the Americas.
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey, so I grew up
Jersey.
there. Yeah.
Can you
Jersey
do your
girl.
Jersey accent.
Uh-huh. Oh, no, hopefully not.
do you like East Coast better or West Coast better?
I think there are pros and cons to both. Yeah, the
okay.
culture is definitely different from each coast, but
Be very careful. You could start a war.
Are you planning to live here?
I think
on
it
the West?
depends on
okay.
what happens after undergrad.
What do you major? What do you major in?
I'm pre-med right now.
Pre-med,
Yeah,
okay.
So
And
Duh.
I'm also
Hopefully.
pre-med.
pre-med, both
Yeah,
of you.
duh.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully.
So, what kind of field of not medication, and then what field of medicine are you guys planning on getting into? We'll start with Andrew.
Oh, that's a really loaded question. I think it's because like,
성형외과.
oh no, I'm
돈 많이 벌어야지.
That's popular.
yeah,
That
it's
is,
really
right?
popular in Korea, but I'm actually really interested in oncology and just like hospital management in general, like the business aspects.
You
of
want to be a
medicine.
원장님.
Yeah.
He's looking big.
For the money, yeah. Long haul, right?
This guy's smart, dude. I'm telling you guys. How about you?
no, I
Chloe.
just wanted to go into dermatology.
Dermatology
is a little bit there.
Laser treatment. $1,000, baby.
No, I really liked my experience when I went to Korea, and I thought the
Oh,
difference
okay.
between here and how they do it in America and how they do it in Korea is
So you wanna
vastly
bring that
different.
here?
Yeah, I would love to bring some of that.
You think
over
America's
here.
way behind compared
they
to Korea?
are.
Heck yeah,
Oh,
dude.
yeah, definitely
you-
dermatology.
Dude, like Korea, it's like a factory, you know? Like,
I know.
there's like a
so beyond.
실장님 and there's about like 10 different laser like rooms.
How about the Korean American community? Are they really good too? I'm just wondering. I thought, I'm thinking whether that boiled over to the Korean American community, whether that is pretty advanced or not.
I feel like they have
dermatologist
a
field.
lot of the same methods, but the prices are so vastly different.
It's more expensive here,
It's
right?
so much more expensive, like
here.
3-4 times the price.
I
of
mean,
what
it's because it's
to get
saturated
here.
market over there. I mean,
But it'd be
when it-
nice to like find something a
Okay.
little more affordable, a little more accessible over here that has the same methods. That
I
they
know,
do.
you're just getting rid of a mole. Why is it $500?
So it's better to fly over to Korea whenever you can, and then.
Yeah, do
Sometimes, yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I
Yeah.
see these people. I knew some colleagues who went to Korea, and then when they come
Yeah.
back, they look a little bit different. A little bit cleaner. I don't see the spots and the freckles, so they obviously did something.
Yeah.
I used to get it done every,
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, I know.
He doesn't have a spot and freckles at all. Look at it. Look how clean it is.
No, it's because I used to be on TV back
Yeah.
then,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
too. But like every 2 years, you get when you get old, like little things, sunspots and chijut and like little things like that. So I'd go there and then I just get an overhaul. It would be like $150.
But my thinking is, if I take a vacation and go there and do all that,
Yeah.
then you have to put all this bandage around your face. It's hard to go out and meet your friends and stuff, right? For like a week, right?
It's
You have to sacrifice?
totally regular in Korea.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's used to
Yeah.
seeing
Oh, so
people.
it's not like shameful
no,
or anything.
no,
Okay.
no. people go out there.
Exactly.
And I feel like,
Okay, it's different.
and it's like a lot of dermatology like clinics in Korea, they consider that. So a lot of the technologies and all the laser treatment, it's like instantaneous. You don't even need a bandage anymore.
Okay, so Drew, you did that too a little bit.
No.
I think like you know what you're talking about.
He saw his mom get it when he was going to international school in Korea.
Okay, so we want to talk about affirmative action. Affirmative action. It's an issue that kind of hurts Asian Americans the most, and
I'm surprised that it's still even around. Like I thought it was during our time, during my time, 30 years ago. What was it, 30 years ago? I don't even know how many years ago, but it was a while ago. And I realize now that this is still a big issue. Why don't you feel free to tell us a little bit about what you see, and let's explain what affirmative action is, right? This is what it says. Affirmative action is a program of positive action. Okay. Undertaken with conviction and effort. See, when they beat around the bush, then that means there's something there, right? Overcome the present effects of past practices, policies, or barriers to equal employment opportunity and to achieve the full and fair participation of women, minorities, and individuals with disabilities found to be under-utilized in the workforce based on availability. Yeah, sounds very fair, and it sounds like we're doing a good thing, right? But whenever there's a good thing, it always seems that there are victims or there's people that end up being victims.
They also call it positive discrimination. Did you know that? So, are you pro or con?
I'm against it.
I have some mixed feelings, to be honest, but I want to hear, Drew and also Chloe's thought.
Chloe,
Okay.
Oh, you want to go first? Okay.
I'm personally positive right now. I think originally when I was younger, I was against affirmative action because of the negative effects it does have on the Korean American specifically.
or Asian
population.
American in general. There's Indian Americans and Chinese Americans.
Because we're the ones who get the good grades, right? Let's be honest.
I think I think it's very specifically like the Asian Americans, because the international kids do have like a separate quota, but like separate from people who are from America. But then as I kind of like looked into it a little bit more, I realized that there is a certain importance in diversifying the college community. And I think that in the future that affirmative action won't necessarily be needed. But as of right now, it's still something that should be there because and like if you see like states in California where I think they got rid of affirmative action, like it's not
California
allowed.
did, actually.
Yeah, and then
California got rid of
California got
affirmative
rid of it, and in 2020 it was, held to vote again, and then people voted it down again. But what I heard was schools, they voluntarily do it in a very sneaky
especially
way,
like
right?
The UCs and
That's
stuff
what's
like
going
that.
on.
Okay, so
Right?
it might not be a law, but schools
Exactly.
practice what they feel is fair.
Yeah, and if you look at the statistics for some of these schools that do practice like going against affirmative action, the diversity is much, much lower, especially for like Black, Hispanic, and like other of those like poor, traditionally like historically poor minorities.
So basically, you're kind of saying that without affirmative action, then
wouldn't be
the
getting into
U.S.
something.
colleges would probably end up looking like the LPGA.
LPGA, you're right. It's kind of like that. It's exactly the same, that analogy is very correct, but somehow very
Charged?
very discriminatory. I don't know, it sounds kind
I
of...
mean, that's
true,
what
though.
it
I think
is,
that's what's
reality.
going on. You know, they tried to do that with LPGA too. They wanted to mandate the players to speak in English because they would do interviews in Korean.
You know,
that happened. And
I understand that too, though. I
because it
understand
hurts their
that.
rating.
Well, I mean, it's because, whenever you look at like sports stars, there is the personality, it's the sale of personalities, right? But when you have a whole bunch of winners who can't speak the language and just saying one single word after winning like the greatest, trophy of all time or something, then, it makes it a little bit difficult to market this person. And LPGA, let's face it, it needs ratings and it needs stars. Look how golf became so big after Tiger Woods. Golf was a geeky sport
You're
before
right.
Tiger Woods.
Nobody cared about it that much.
Yeah.
Right. It was an old man sport.
You need figures like that. Now, when you look at the LPGA, it's just a bunch of Asian girls.
But that was the exact argument for affirmative action.
Sorry.
That all Asians, they don't have character. You heard about this argument.
I
That
did.
they're all
That
the
was the
same.
whole
They're
thing with
nerdy. They
the
don't have
Harvard.
a
Harvard
character.
days.
And so this is one Asian person who told me. When they see like blacks or Hispanics, that somehow they do have more colorful characters, and that we're all pretty much. I mean, I wouldn't say the same, but it's all in this same bundle in a way.
Why is that? Why are Asians like that? Why are Asians packaged like that? Why do people have this stereotype that Asians are boring?
Do you think it's a complete stereotype, or there is some truth to it?
I
feel
think, yeah, no. Go ahead.
I feel like it is definitely a stereotype that I feel like I went to actually high school here in Orange County, and I went to a very white predominant school. I went to a Christian school, and it was like, I think there were only like 5 Koreans in the whole like 9th through 12th grade. And like, it was like a very big thing for me to be like, oh, I really want to like focus in on studying. And, already from like freshman year of high school, I'm like, I actually want to take the route to become a pre-med student. And they're all my like white friends, and even the teachers are like, are you sure about that? Or is it like your parents telling you to go to medical school? It's like, there's that big stereotype that, oh, it's like very cultural that all Asian kids have to go to like professional schools or like even like engineering schools. And I think that stereotype's definitely real, coming from like a very, I guess, non-diversified school. And before that, I was in an international school.
Yeah.
And even there, everyone's like, oh, like even from middle school, they're all talking about colleges and like, what do you want to be? And everyone else is like lawyer, doctor. It's like half of it, I feel like it does come from family, like, I wouldn't say pressure, but it's like that culture that you, in order to be successful, you know, there's a Korean saying that you have to be like, oh, you have to have a job that ends with 사, right? 변호사, lawyer.
Right. And it kind of boils over to even the immigrants here, which kind of simplifies people. But I mean, I was raised with very strict parents. They always emphasized on the academia. And
Did they want you to be a lawyer or a doctor?
Either. I mean,
one
or president, or all these, you know, like astronaut. I mean, astronaut doesn't come up that much, right? Or any big thing. But 가수 never came up, like, or like actor. Those were the things that I was really actually interested in.
My grandfather was so pissed off when I told him I was going to be a singer. He was like, no tantara for my grandson.
But it will be different now because I think the parents are more open about it. They want their kids to be, because of the BTS and the K-wave. You know, I think their perception towards entertainment is completely different.
It is different
from our parents' generation.
It is different.
I still feel like there is still that implication that, either if you're really talented from a young age, then they send them off to like the big entertainment companies to become like 연습생, right?
Yeah.
Trainees. But I actually saw on the news and I actually heard from a couple of my parents' friends that there's apparently like 학원s in Korea that are for elementary school kids to prep for medical school from like, I think like 7 years old.
That's gangster, dude.
I know, it's crazy, right? 7 years
so
old.
Gangster.
They're doing like calculus. I'm like,
you would be a doctor. How old are you? 7.
Yeah, so at least 9 states have already chosen to end consideration of race in university admissions. These are just official ones. You know, Arizona, California, Florida, Idaho, Michigan, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Washington. But we know some of these states are voluntarily doing it. The colleges, like we just mentioned, and I think there's two sides of it. There are Asian people who are so angry about this, you know, that they're like one issue voter, and they would always vote Republican because of this.
You know, we've talked about like how a lot of parents, they spend a lot of money to get them in good schools and to near good schools with like, you know, good ratings and things like that, even private schools. So they're spending money to do that, right? But what about the Asian American students whose parents don't have those kind of resources and they can't send their kids to institutes and hagwons and stuff like that, and they're on their own? And they're kind of under the same conditions as other minorities, but just because of their race, they're not going to be given a chance because they don't have a 5.0 GPA. You know, what about that?
Yeah, what do you think about it?
I'm actually against.
Okay, so for and against, right?
Well, I'm not like strongly against, but then I feel like it is very charged to say reverse racism. A lot of media a lot of conservative media comes out and then attacks the thing as reverse racism. But in a sense, I feel like it's reinforcing the stereotype that all Asian like students are trying to, you know, they're all excelling. So like, they're all the same. So we should cut them down and then make quotas for them. And I feel like, wouldn't that kind of be unfair for those students that are actually aiming for other things?
When we're talking about like straight up IQ and intelligence levels, we're all born at the same level,
that's
right?
what I think too.
And for you, Chloe, I mean, you're for it. I mean, I respect that. I do. My question for you is this. I mean, what about a situation where, let's say, for example, I have heart surgery. Okay, I want the best doctor. I want the best doctor who's going to work on my heart, right? But what happens when people graduate on a curve or, you know, whatnot?
So you want somebody who got the best score, right?
Yeah. I want the guy with the best score, you know, not the guy who came out of the same school. Like, what about in a situation like that? I mean, could someone who have graduated through affirmative action or have benefited through affirmative action, can they always get the same amount of respect and also, I guess, you know, faith that they're just as good as the guy who didn't?
Yeah, I think that you can, because if you look at some of the numbers and you look at the graduation rates for some of these populations, when you divide it up by the minority, like the race aspect, the graduation rates are very similar across like all schools. So even if they come in with like lower grades or lower statistics or something, they do graduate with the similar like statistics, as, even if they came in with different like
That's graduate though. To
Yeah,
graduate, they put a bar on a certain level that you have to exceed or surpass.
So it's like like everybody graduates and they like end up at pretty much the same place. It's just coming in. I guess it's different, but you make up for the differences, and then like it's like you grow up in. You come up from a different background, and then you come into a new area, and then you're exposed to all of these different things, and you're given the opportunity to succeed. And a lot of the people who are given these opportunities do succeed, regardless of their racial background.
But you're right. Even I'm sorry to like put golf in there, but even in golf, even if you just barely make the cut, you could win the tournament.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
So okay.
I mean, going back to your point, actually, my dad said that when he was because he taught me academics, and he said that it is unfair for some students to go to institutes, 학원s.
Yeah.
But some don't have the money. Their parents don't have the money to go there, so it's not an even field.
Yeah, so that's why I bring up that case or that imaginary case, or if it's I'm sure there's cases like this where
There
an
definitely
Asian
are.
American
there
student or
are.
a Korean American student doesn't have those resources, but he's still judged under the same
Yeah.
criteria or the same kind of scale.
And we know that a lot of black and brown students don't do that. They don't go to these institutes. So their parents don't push them around.
Yeah.
And you got to
And
study.
I think they
study.
should.
They should, but
Yeah.
the family background is
Yeah.
different. They're 80% of blacks. The recent study that I saw was 80% of blacks are born out of wedlock, and currently 40% is born out of wedlock. But anyway, blacks are disproportionately born that way. Then I don't think you have parents who would emphasize these academia. So I think that's where affirmative action comes into play, because I do think if you have Harvard, Yale, Brown, all these Ivy League schools, if you just cut them by the score, I wonder how many percentage of black or brown students can get admitted, right?
Much lower. Yeah.
That number will be really low, right?
It would
Much
be
low, yeah.
very low. It would be predominantly like
Asian and white people.
Asian, white, and those people with like higher socioeconomic status. Yeah.
Yeah,
think-
so that's there are some benefits from it. Like when we saw
for
like
sure.
President Barack Obama, in his case, he went to Occidental College here in LA, and then he wasn't a good student. He said that. He transferred to Columbia and went to Harvard Law School, and he became the editor of Harvard Crimson, the law school, and he became an excellent speaker. I think he excelled as a lawyer. He was a professor at University of Chicago, and then he failed the election, first election, but he became a senator 3 years, and then became United States president. So do you see this as one of the positive sides
I
of
do.
affirmative
Yeah,
action?
definitely.
Yeah, so I want to talk about President Barack Obama. In Obama's case, I think he is probably one of the best successful case about affirmative action. He was a student for Occidental College in Los Angeles, and then he transferred, but he wasn't a good student. He said that. He transferred to Columbia, and then he graduated there, and then went to Harvard Law School, and then became the first black editor for Harvard Crimson, the law paper for a newspaper for Harvard Law School. So, and then he became president of the United States, right? So, wouldn't that be like one of the positives
Yeah.
Yeah.
about
amazing.
affirmative action?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
And the fact that he transferred from community college to Columbia, of all things, wow.
Yeah, so I think some people are arguing, so we should keep on doing this, or if we don't, then it will be disproportionately just dominated. These Ivy League schools like Harvard, Yale, Brown, these schools will be completely dominated by Asians, Jews, especially Jews too. There's a lot of Jewish students too, right? And also white. Do you agree with that? So that's why we need affirmative action.
Well, I also think that like it should be more based on like the socioeconomic aspect of like they should evaluate students based on what kind of background they come from, especially in the SES levels, instead of like their race, because I feel like the economic how they grew up, what kind of schools they went to, that matters more than like what kind of race there are.
That makes sense. So look deeper into the background and then see if they had advantages when it comes to schooling and scholastic activities.
Yeah, but there's also another side of the story. Like for instance, he's actually now a presidential candidate, Larry Elder.
Oh, okay.
United States presidential candidate, Republican on the Republican side. Larry Elder, he's a radio host. What he said was, affirmative action is actually hurting African American black community. because they cannot graduate, even though these students go to Harvard, Yale, and all these prestigious schools. They are not good enough to keep up with other students, and they can't graduate, and they sometimes drop out, and then they don't go to college, go to a lower tier college, and that happens too. What do you think about that? What do you say to that, Chloe?
Well, I think from what I've seen and what I've read that it's not necessarily true. Like I don't know where he got his sources from, but like when you look at
So you're saying that
Very elder, you got one coming.
I'm gonna have to ask him. We're gonna have
We
him
don't
as a
know where
guest.
you got your sources from, Larry.
So you know some of your black students that they're affirmative action kids. You know it. You know for a fact. I mean whether they got
Well, you see people like from my school, and you see kids who did the same exact thing, the same exact clubs with the same exact stats, except one might be slightly lower in GPA, but their race is a little different.
But you don't know their
And then they
grades,
get
right?
in.
Exactly, their SATs
Well,
or
people talk.
Yeah, I
People,
mean,
like,
yeah,
you
and-
ask about their SATs, especially if you're friends with them.
really.
in high school.
Yeah.
So probably it might be
too.
different now. Because probably it might be different because officially we don't have affirmative action anymore. Before when they implemented that's what Larry Elder is saying. Because California is not officially they're not implementing it. I told you about the 9
Officially.
states. Yeah. So probably not in California, but probably other states. I think they still do. I don't know. But Larry Elder was saying that it actually hurts the black community, and he himself, Larry Elder told me, because I thought he was a super smart guy. He went to law school and all that, and he graduated Brown. He's an Ivy Leaguer, and I said, man, people like you. I mean, you just did it easily, right? Studying and all that, and he said he had to 밤새. He had to study whole night long for an entire year because all of his peers were way ahead of him.
So he had to catch up.
Yes, and
Yeah.
he said most of his black friends couldn't catch up.
See, okay, so that's where I would say, okay, well, then the Korean Americans do have or Asian Americans would have an advantage because everything that the Korean Americans and Asian Americans study at the institutes or hagwons is things ahead of their grades, right?
Yeah,
so if they're
right.
in 10th grade, they're studying things in college,
I know, it's
collegiate
crazy,
level
man.
and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So if Larry Elder had that kind of an advantage after he got into Brown or Yale or whatever it was, he might have had it a lot easier.
Exactly.
So to your point, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Having those advantages.
And Larry said when he was going to high school, he's from Compton, by the way, South Central. When he was going to high school, I think somehow he had a chance to go to the Jewish community high school, and he thought he was way ahead of the curve academically.
Oh.
Especially he thought in his grade that he's the best in Spanish, but when he went to the school.
The Jewish kids were better in Spanish.
They were speaking in Spanish like crazy. And then that day when he came back home, he cried whole night long, and he blamed his parents. Mom, Dad, how come these students get the education that they're having? Because he thought that there's a huge disparity in education. So he complained about it.
So you would imagine that he'd be more for affirmative action than in that kind of a scenario.
I would. Yeah.
You would think, right?
You would think,
Yeah.
but ultimately because of the graduation rate, he said the black graduation rate had dropped ever since affirmative action got implemented. So that was his argument that you can't just artificially bring in some students to these colleges, and you know what he said about Obama? He doesn't count because he's half white. Yeah, that's what he said. But he doesn't count that he's half white, and that he's an anomaly. You see, but I don't know. Is it too?
Not everyone thinks like that. I don't think. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about that? I don't. This is not a simple.
It's
issue.
not. It's
yeah, because
not. It
Michelle
really
Steele,
isn't.
United States Representative Michelle Steele from Orange County, and also Young Kim, they're both vehemently against affirmative action. That it's hurting, flat out. It's hurting all this Korean and Asian students. They're studying all night long, and it shouldn't be this way. Do you see that side of the story too?
I definitely do. Yeah. I think there are certain aspects where it's as Andrew said, it should be a little more about the economics of it, because some of these hagwons, I guess, where the education that you get ahead of time before you're going to college, those opportunities are based on how much money your family has. What area you live in, that's based on
So the
how
better
much
you
Not
money
live-
your
really,
family
because
has.
I make a certain amount of money, but I have nothing after all this stuff. So let me just tell you, it's not because I have a lot of money. It's because I care about my kids enough to sacrifice everything I have and not buy that hamburger that I want during the day I'm serious.
It goes to that extent, hamburger extent.
Hamburger, yeah. That's why I don't eat lunch.
I understand.
Dude. It's too expensive, man.
Yeah,
I pay for the hot one.
Actually, I have a college friend who went to Korea. He said that he spends $5,000 per month for his daughter's education.
Yeah.
And she was like barely out of grade school, now junior high. And I thought, to me, that sounds crazy. I would never spend that amount of money.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. No other like minorities
they wouldn't do that.
They wouldn't be doing that. And they might not even have the means to do that, even if they wanted to.
Yeah, and I thought that the Korean Americans and Asian Americans would be a little bit different here. But I think I consider it as a negativity to put too much emphasis on academia, because I think there are so many things in life other than academia. But I think
Definitely.
it kind of boiled over here. Like Irvine, I know Irvine parents, they kind of pride themselves of being more like 강남, 강남 학부모보다 우리가 더 that we have more pride about this. Did you hear about this too?
No, definitely. I actually used to work. I still do work at a hagwon, a Korean hagwon in Korea as a tutor right now, and it's really crazy to see like the tuition rate at these hagwon and the extent to which they send their kids and prep for SATs, APs, and I'm like, wow, like it's. Because I know, like, because I am also from Gangnam and then went to Hagwon and Apgujeong, I really admire that my parents were able to do that for me. But on the other side, going to high school here, I realized that these kids have no idea what institutions like Hagwons are, and they're just studying on their own. And yeah, just not even that. And it's kind of crazy to think that it's a negativity for sure, because it's basically creating a stereotype of our own. Like, we're making that stereotype for Asian Americans that, oh yeah, we're going to excel by doing more.
It's funny, in the beginning of this whole conversation, it's like everything is like we're all set. Okay, I'm against it, you're for it. Yeah. But now when we get to the middle, we're kind of like, there's really seems to be no way around it, because it is true that Asian American, especially with this knowledge of institutions and wanting to, there is a certain advantage that is there. Okay, we're right now with Andrew and also Chloe from USC. They're both students at USC. They're from the Korean career-oriented student organization, right? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I think we can go ahead and put this affirmative action thing on the table for now, and just put it under the table for now. I don't think we're going to get anything out of this at this point. We'll talk a little bit more about what the MZ generation, what their generation is looking at, what they're concerned about, and what they're looking at for the outlook of the future.
Yeah, we'll be back after these messages.
인사 에티켓. 지구를 위협합니다.
라디오코리아 사무실에는 전설의 인사 귀신이 살아요. 과연 라디오코리아 인사 귀신의 하루는 어떤지 한번 따라가 볼까요? 복도를 지나가는 A 직원에게 인사 귀신이 반갑게 인사를 건네네요. 그런데 항상 이런 식이에요. 귀신이 보이지 않는 건지 인사를 받아주지 않아요. 인사 귀신은 복수를 다짐합니다. A 직원이 업무를 하기 위해 자리로 돌아오고 있어요. 이게 뭐죠? A 직원의 자리에 쓰레기가 가득하고 보고 싶지도 않은 끔찍한 사진이 마구마구 붙어 있어요. 인사를 받지 못한 인사 귀신의 복수는 아주 오싹해요. 때마침 그때 B 직원이 반갑게 인사를 받아줍니다. 감동받은 인사 귀신은 보은을 다짐합니다. B 직원도 자리에 앉으려나 봐요. 우와! 인사를 받아준 B 직원의 책상에는 과자도 있고 인형도 있고 금은보화가 잔뜩 쌓여 있어요. 인사를 나누면 귀신도 사무실도 행복이 가득해요.
서로 반갑게 인사를 주고받는 사무실 문화. 보이지는 않지만 하루를 행복하게 만들어줍니다. 오늘은 먼저 인사를 건네보는 건 어떨까요? 이 광고는 라디오 코리아와 함께합니다.
Hey, we're back. This is Culture Shock, 문화충격, and we have our guest, USC Korean Career-Oriented Student Organization. This is like the toughest organization to read, right?
Korean
so
career.
wordy. And we have Drew Kim, Andrew Kim, and Chloe Seo.
Yes.
예, 한국 이름이
신호.
김신호 그리고
Like 신호등.
서하영.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you two are at least bilingual or
한국말 하세요?
He's a little more bilingual than I am.
어디 한번
okay.
우리 클로이 씨 한국어로 우리 대화를 한번 해보죠. 안녕하세요.
못하는데요.
한국어로 하면은 내성적이 되나 보다. Did you change my character? I mean by your
어색하다는 말 자체를 안다는 게 한국말 잘하는 거 아니야?
Yeah.
나는 한국으로 갈 때 저는 when I went to Korea I didn't even know that word. 어색해. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I knew like 4 words in my 된장찌개, 김치찌개, and 볶음밥.
But your parents spoke in Korean, right?
I know. They said, "Do you want some kimchi찌개?" I'm like, "Yeah, baby." You know.
So anyway, currently Harvard University and University of North Carolina, right? These two schools have been sued by the Asian American community, right? For practicing affirmative action. Currently, United States Supreme Court, they took the case. I think the decision might be happening this year, I think, right? How do you think they're going to decide?
You know, I was wondering why Harvard rejected me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you always talk about it, man. Can you stop talking about, that you could have gone to Harvard?
Me at
I could have gone
Harvard.
to.
Like Harvard Elementary, yeah.
Yeah, and also this study came out today, actually. NBC poll finds that over half of Americans believe affirmative action is necessary, with the issue divided along racial lines. But we gotta put note: NBC has always been pro-black community over the Asian community, even the Asian, reporters here. I wouldn't name them, but yeah. And there was another poll, Washington Post. They polled that this came out last year, found that 63% of U.S. adults support the Supreme Court banning colleges and universities from considering a student's race and ethnicity when making decisions about student admission. So we have two different results of polls. I want to know your opinion about how do you think the United States Supreme Court justices would come down to in the Harvard.
Well, what do you
USC
think
case.
is going to happen, and what do you think should happen?
Well, I think I think before this talk today, I was going just through to just catch up on all the Supreme Court, I guess the progressions, how they have been saying, and even I think the video I watched before coming in here was I think President Biden was trying to appoint a Supreme Court justice, and they were doing the confirmation, and one of the questions was,
Ketanji Jackson?
Yeah. And then they were asking, what are your opinions on affirmative action? And I feel like it should be under the idea that affirmative action, based on racial, I guess, quotas, it should be under they say strict scrutiny, right? And it should be considered, does it go against the 14th Amendment, equal rights, right? I think that personally, the Supreme Court would definitely say it would. I feel like it would either be a really close vote. It wouldn't be
the justices
vote.
are 6-3.
Yeah.
You know that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
6 is conservative and 3 is
Then
3 is
that's
liberal.
an advantage for
the Asian American community. I do think so. What do you think, Chloe?
I think they're just going to rule in favor of the colleges. They're going to
You
keep
do?
affirmative action. I think
doubting
so.
Mustafa.
Just
So-
'cause, yeah, they're powerful.
So you're
Harvard's
saying that 2
powerful.
would
Yeah.
flip over to the liberal side? 2 of
Yeah.
the conservative justices would flip over? Oh, okay. That's let's see what happens. I have mixed feelings about it because I talk about this with my wife, and I don't want my kids to go to school where it's just the predominantly white and Asians. I want all races to be in that school, and I think I know it's a little bit different,
it's
but
like arguing.
I feel that way. Yeah.
It's like arguing between 금수저 and 흑수저.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Race aside, it's between arguing a person who's born with a silver spoon in their mouth and a person who's born with nothing. That's what it is. That's what it comes down to. Culture and education on how to raise your kids, whether you have 2 different parents or you have both parents there who are educated and who want that education for your kids, or if you don't have those types of parents at home. So it's a very wild, eclectic mix of issues that come together to...
And I heard that dumbing down of the education is happening. Do you find that to be true? They're dumbing down so that they can have these students have a better time in colleges. Did you hear about this?
It's actually interesting because I had a conversation at church with our church group, and then they were talking about how when they went to middle school, they were teaching geography. I think it was LA District a middle school, and they went and they were teaching geography, which is they weren't teaching it correctly. A lot of them didn't know where Alaska was.
You mean the teachers?
Yeah, I know. Like
No, the
they're
students,
teaching.
right?
The students
Yeah,
didn't
students.
Some
know
of these
where
students are
Alaska is.
stupid, like seriously stupid.
Yeah, so I heard that the dumbing down is actually really happening, like even in the math era. Okay, I went to my kids' school and saw them teach math class, and it wasn't math. I don't know what he was talking about. It wasn't.
it's,
It wasn't
Common
math.
Core.
Yeah, it's a Common Core, exactly.
Common Core. It's a
It
different
was.
way of thinking.
I was so dumbfounded that even the teacher felt how I was feeling. So he came in the middle and they said, "Hey, I know that you find this odd." This is exactly what the teachers told me. I know you find this really odd. I mean, this doesn't look like math, because they were just writing and it wasn't even numbers that much. And he said, "But this is Common Core. It's a little bit different. They changed it, the curriculum."
It's stupid.
And
That's interesting.
my
It's
wife said,
stupid.
"This is crazy."
Have you
stuff.
taken? Dude, it's ridiculous.
I
you have
think
to.
East Coast does some.
It's like
differently.
12 plus
Yeah.
5. It's not no longer 12 plus 5. It's like
12
12. You take this away and then you add this and then on blah blah blah. And you're just like,
Huh. Okay.
why do you just do it like this? And I'm like, well, they're telling me to do it like this. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's like they take something out from the answer and then they
exactly.
add it to the front. I'm just like, dude, I understand where you're coming from. You're trying to make things teach the kids how to think differently or look at look for a solution to a problem in a different fashion. But come on, the answer is the same. Let's find the fastest way to get the answer.
Exactly,
That's the most
exactly.
important thing, right?
And I heard that you don't even have to memorize multiplication table. Is that true these days? That's
Do you
what I
know
heard.
Kugudan?
That's what I've been hearing.
Of course.
Do you know 구구단?
You know
Oh,
Kugudan,
yeah.
multiplication table.
3구?
이십칠.
3구 27.
I think we were a little bit
2는 2, 4, 2, 3, 6, 2, 4, 8, 2,
But, is
12,
it,
62,
but I heard
74.
that the kids these days, they don't have to do that, and they can
My son doesn't know how to do
right?
that.
They just pull out a calculator, right? That's what I
Yeah.
heard, right? You don't need
Everyone
to.
in my
You don't need
area
it, right?
She just pulls out a phone.
I think maybe East Coast does it differently. 'cause
East Coast,
you
you have
guys
to
just
still
use
do it.
calculators?
We're not allowed to use calculators. to
Oh.
begin
So are you
with.
saying that East
Yeah.
Coast kids are a little bit smarter than West Coast kids?
Your mark right there. All right.
No.
Okay, all jokes aside, now let's move on to like
Yeah.
some more practical
Let's move on.
stuff right now because you guys are in college. What is your second year, right?
Sophomore.
First year,
Finishing
second year, whatever,
last
right?
week of school.
And then when you look at like the Korean students in Korea, I just came from there, and they're very distraught. A lot of them, they don't understand like what they're gonna do. They don't understand what to do. And even if they graduate college, they're worried about what jobs they can get in the job market. Even if they do get a job, they're wondering if it could pay enough so that they could. Does it offer rewards or good raises, or does it have good enough benefits where I could raise a family on this? There's a lot of issues at hand. Now, how are you guys worried about this type of thing, especially with the inflation rate going up, housing prices just skyrocketing? All these issues out there. Tell me what you guys are at.
Well, I think we're both Korean Americans. I am also a U.S. citizen.
Oh, you're a
You
U.S.
are.
citizen.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Oh, I got naturalized a couple months ago, actually.
Congratulations.
그 군대 안 가도 되겠네.
I was born Canadian.
You were born
my
Canadian.
parents are Canadian.
I was born Canadian. Dude, you're 완전
you had, like,
It's
금수저.
all over the place.
you had
완전
three
금수저.
You have 3 citizenship? Korea,
No, I know a
States?
Korean citizenship. I gave them when I
Diamond
was young.
spoon.
Oh, okay.
No, but like a lot of Korean students right now, they're the biggest concern because we do operate like a Korean organization at USC, and the biggest topic is like, how are we gonna get visa sponsorship, like OTP, CPT, visa sponsorship? I think a lot of them are facing the problem where it's like, okay, they can get a visa sponsorship, but after the sponsorship's over, I think at maximum it's like 2 years for CPT and OPT. The companies aren't willing to sponsor them to get green card or sponsor them to work as international like workers. So it's like a big concern for a lot of seniors in our community at USC to consider like, oh, even though we do like these opportunities that the school and the U.S. government gives the international students to work in America, the problem is going to be the status of visa. Like how are we going to work as an international student? So that's a big problem right now. Yeah.
So a lot of
definitely
you guys are worried about visa.
Yeah.
How you can get a visa to stay, for
Visa
example, in your
sponsorship.
situation. What about you? You're from Jersey, so a visa is not really an issue. You can work anywhere in America, right?
Yeah.
So you're at a different boat. then now you guys could be put on a curve, you know, or some kind of affirmative action for him, right? But tell me, like, I know you want to get into pre-med, but what are you looking at in the future? Like, I mean, does any of this concern you? Are you worried about like how you're gonna raise a family and buy a house and do all these things? And do you want a family? Are you even thinking about getting married or anything like that? I don't know. I'm just throwing questions out there.
All these questions, but yeah, I think the issue is with medical school comes all that debt.
Oh yeah.
And that's,
Yeah, student debt,
So your
right?
mom's not gonna, you know, Yeshiva on her card.
But didn't Obama?
That's big. That's way too big.
Didn't Biden say that he's going to waive all that? What's happening with that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just put it on there and then just hope they waive it. You know?
Ask Biden to pay for it. He said he's going to do it.
I wish.
It's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, you gotta think about that. And on top of that, you gotta think about like how where you're gonna live. I can't live with my parents forever.
Yeah.
You know,
Why not?
like,
just,
I just
yeah,
can't.
just get into a big
I want my
you
daughter.
want your kids to live with you? Even after
Garage.
marriage?
No, but I mean, I don't even know if they're gonna get married. What I mean, I don't think anyone wants to get married in this day and age. Do you?
Yeah, he asks people around all the time. Young people, are you
Yeah.
gonna, do you want to marry? Really?
Like, I don't know. Is present day society the way we grow up, individualistic and all that, and you know, in this type of environment? I mean, do people want to get married? I'm just curious.
Is it a big topic that you talk about? Are you going to marry someday? Where you know young kids, MZ generation?
But he's like
don't talk about
Kumsujo,
it.
so you know.
no.
Kumsujo is always a different. You know, I want to know Kumsujo's opinion too. So
얘랑 결혼해.
Arrangement.
arrangement.
I'm messing with you, dude. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're good. It's because we are actually pre-med students. Our biggest just concern is, are we going to make it to
Medical
medical school? And then the financial
Pay off the
burdens
debt.
that come from it. I feel like
Look.
that is like deferring us to think about marriage and our family life for like, okay, after becoming a doctor, you know?
But even the biggest idiot in the world would know that you two are very highly likely to get into medical school just because of your drive. Look at this club that you guys are in. The Korean career-oriented.
Career-oriented.
Look,
Very practical. I didn't even know that's such a club.
you know, you guys are doing things that I would have never even thought about doing when I was, your age.
So
you know?
they're very mature, I would
appreciate
say.
it.
you know.
mature,
Thank you.
driven,
Ahead of the
smart. I mean, I don't think you have to worry about. Just keep on that path. I think
And
you'll
I
be
think
fine. But
even though they marry, I think they're gonna be the breadwinners, right? The pre-med, right?
I don't know.
right. See? So how much loan do you have to usually?
Yeah, how
pay
much
off?
is like
I want to
a
know.
pre-med? I guess medical
field.
school, like a 4-year of medical school,
hundreds
What's it?
of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands,
like for 1 year or like for.
like all
It
accumulated.
depends on where you go, because
Yeah.
sometimes if you go like in-state, it might be a little cheaper or whatever. Like if you get a scholarship, it gets cheaper. But yeah, it's pretty hefty.
What
It's
if you
much
don't-
more expensive than undergrad.
What if you don't get scholarship and in-state? How much on average?
Student debt just compiling after undergrad.
after.
Yeah.
But you could pay it off with your people qua.
Yeah, that's
like the good
You'll
thing
be
is
making
that
that in a
yeah.
month.
Yeah, student debt is a huge issue because Sally Mae, right? I heard that most of the loans are brought by Sally Mae. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I read.
I owed
on
money
Wall
to
Street
Sally
Journal.
Mae.
Sally Mae. And you can't even declare bankruptcy
No,
with.
they will
Did you know
collect
that
it.
student loan? You can't declare it.
Yeah.
They will
From
collect it.
all other businesses you can, but except for Sally Mae.
Even
That's
if you
how
die,
powerful
they'll
they
dig
are.
you up
Yeah.
to collect it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Doesn't it go
That's
to your
brutal.
spouse or something?
I don't
if
know.
you don't pay off.
Even if you
They
divorce.
push it
I
on
think
to
you-
someone else.
Yeah, I think
Inherited. That's
student loan is
crazy.
a
I don't
special
know
kind of
about
loan.
that. I don't know
It's a
about
very special kind of
Oh,
loan.
that's crazy.
Government loans. It's a semi-government loan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can't mess with that.
So, what do kids do these days? I mean, when you try to, release stress, I mean, not kid. I mean, still kids, right? College,
kids.
right?
Yeah, we are. We are,
So,
definitely.
what we used to do back in the day, I don't know, young, but we used to drink a lot, yeah, and party, go to club. And all
drink
that.
more.
Well, is it the same? It seems
And
a
then
little bit
eat at
different. I don't see a
Hodorichi.
lot of clubbing and all that. I don't know.
Oh no.
It is it is definitely going on.
It's
Okay,
definitely still
okay.
going. I think especially USC because it's like we're in LA.
SC.
Yeah,
Okay.
SC is like a party school. Quote
Oh.
unquote. So it is. So it's like
SC
very
is a famous
prevalent
party
here.
school, is it? I always heard that the University of Arizona is one of the top.
That's also
right.
one.
I always
Yeah.
thought community colleges were party schools.
I remember having one of my friends. He said, "I want to go to one of the best party schools." And
MIT
just-
also.
Oh
Known for
yeah, I
being a
heard.
big party school.
Where?
Big-
MIT?
Yeah.
MIT is also a party
Big.
school.
Yeah,
Dude,
big.
imagine if you studied that much, dude. Wouldn't
So
you
you
want
have
to
to
party?
release it, right?
Like, yeah.
So their party is that aggressive, right?
There's these techies, man. They know how to party.
And what are the social media you two use? Do you go to Facebook or? No
Not
Facebook.
mostly mainly
Instagram. No
TikTok.
TikTok, yes. Both of you, TikTok.
I don't use social media, but yeah.
But he's
Wait,
in the
why don't
minority,
you use
though.
social media? Now that's weird.
Oh no, I used to use the social media, but then
You got burned by it?
No, I
He
was
gave
like,
it up for his studies.
That was one thing.
So he is the president of career-oriented.
Gosh, see how? What are you? You're getting into medical school and more. You get a law degree too, man. Just do it.
Thank you.
And your parents are all living here in the States?
No,
or
my
in
parents
Korea?
actually moved back for just family issues. Like my grandparents aren't doing well, so I think just to support them, yeah.
It's very
Okay,
nice.
all right,
Very
yeah.
nice.
And Chloe, what do your parents?
Oh, I didn't. I'm still keeping it. My social media.
Oh,
so-
okay. Oh, okay.
It's like a nice break, you know.
Are you guys on the phone a lot? I'm really concerned about my kids because they're always on the phone. Like this guy is literally walking around just like with his head.
I didn't give it to my kids.
I know.
so-
I regret it.
Yeah.
But it's like he'll be the only kid without a phone. I can't do that either.
because they might get
I
wanged
mean,
out.
so do you guys? When did you guys get your phone? Do you have a phone or did you?
No, yeah.
Okay.
I do. I
And
mean,
we just confiscated. Remember?
I'm still on my phone a lot. I'm a big baseball fan, so I'm always watching.
Oh, you
baseball.
are.
Yeah.
Otani? Are you watching Otani's game?
No,
or Major
I'm
League
a-
Baseball or
I'm a
UNG?
Padres fan. There's
San Diego
Yeah,
Padres fan.
Ha-sung Kim there. So.
Oh, there's a Korean
Oh,
guy there, right?
you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big
yeah.
Korean baseball
Sorry
fan.
to ask about Otani. I mean,
No, you can.
Yeah, Korean. He's not a Korean player.
I
But,
know, that's why you didn't say yes. He would have had a whole bunch of haters, just like
Man, but Otani, what he's doing is crazy,
It's
right?
crazy,
I mean,
yeah.
it's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. It's
He's
one
a
of
pitcher,
the best
right? And he's hitting
pitcher
home
and
runs
hitter.
all days, right?
Yeah.
Pitcher and hitter. American League MVP.
Are you a baseball fan?
I'm not.
What are you a
Yeah.
She's
fan
like,
of?
what are you guys
Chloe?
even talking about?
Med- medicine?
I used to figure skate. So
You used to figure skate?
Yeah, I figure skated for like 10 years.
Whoa!
Oh,
But
Can you
have
do a
some
triple
video
axel?
clips?
if I wouldn't
Lutz.
be here if I. Oh yeah.
Wait, you can do a triple axel too?
No.
Oh,
I wouldn't
oh.
be here if I could.
Did you-
Why is that so hard? Why is it so hard? The
you got to do it
triple
3
axel?
times.
3.5.
No, but a triple Lutz is you got to do it 3 times
Yeah,
too.
three-
But it's how
three
you
and a half.
spike the
It's because
skate or something on the ice. No,
It's because when you're going into it, when you go into an axle, it's like going forwards. So when you go backwards, you use the toe pick to get off of it, and that's a bit easier to get the height. But when you're going forwards, you really have just like your one
Momentum,
leg.
right?
Yeah.
Was
It's
Tanya
just-
Harding
it's just-
the pioneer for that? Tanya
for
Harding?
women? Yes,
Right? She's the first
Yeah.
one who did that triple.
who competed. in it
Midori
and
Ito, I
won.
think, was the first to do it twice or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so
She's
why
also
did you
very
do it? Because of
famous.
Kim Yeon-ah, right?
Actually,
That's
not
like
kidding.
I think it's 10 years. That's a little older, no?
we had like a
Is it?
an ice rink like 5 minutes away from our house, and
So you
then
just-
we're just like,
Hey,
and I
look,
did
there's
it,
an
and
ice
then
rink.
because my mom was like,
Go figure skate.
Yeah, I had like really bad pollen allergies when I was a kid, so my mom was like, "No outside sports."
Oh.
She was like, "You'll die if you do like soccer," and I was
okay.
like, "Oh shoot, okay."
How,
So,
how come are you continuing to skate and stuff?
I'm actually planning on joining like the team next year,
Oh.
maybe, but it's, like, a
USC
very-
figure skating
But
team.
it's like they do it very low key. It's like
Oh, for
just
fun.
like for fun, yeah, just to exercise.
I mean, that's cool. So other than baseball, do you play baseball too?
No, I used to play tennis.
Tennis?
Yeah, for a long time. Yeah.
Oh, like are you like really good? Like
No, I'm
Roger
not.
Federer level or?
No,
Did you
no,
ever-
I wouldn't be at USC if I was
Wait,
playing at
so
Roger
if you
Federer
were good
level.
at tennis, you wouldn't be in pre-med.
Yeah. I think if I was really good, like world class level.
So
then-
you would rather play tennis than be a doctor. I mean, if you had it.
if I was like Roger Federer, like the greatest of all time, like talent.
Okay, so,
well,
you have dreams other than med.
Yeah.
Then you might have actually gone into figure skating if you were able to do the triple axel.
I feel like the figure skating culture is a little toxic. I don't know if I'd
Oh,
survive.
is it
Oh,
toxic?
toxic.
Is it
Yeah.
the same as how it used to be Tanya Harding versus what was it? Nicole Scherf. They had
maybe-
it
You know what
rivalry
happened?
going
That's
on,
like
right?
I do,
Okay.
yeah. But it's like a lot about the body image stuff too, and because the expiration date on a figure skating career is very short.
Yeah.
It's so hard on your body. Like it's hard
Yeah.
on all your joints and like
Yeah.
your back and everything. Like
Yeah.
you can't be flexible forever, and then like you're constantly falling and falling. It's just
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
yeah.
You know, back when I was going to college, when I go to like a cafeteria, okay, black students would eat with blacks, white students eat with white,
Yeah.
Asian students eat with Asian,
Usually.
and there are some anomalies who kind of goes around and eat with all of them. How about now? Is it the same way, or was it Generation MZ, or it's a much better mixture of inclusivity, or
Do you find yourself like grouping or like hanging out with more
More
Korean
Asians.
American
Yeah, I
students
wanna
or
know
Asian
that.
American students as opposed to like an eclectic mix? I'm just out of
because
curiosity.
yeah, because especially Korean students wanted to hang out with other Korean students rather than
Definitely
even
here.
other
Yeah, definitely.
nationality. Is that still
At
going
USC, it's definitely.
Oh,
you know,
it is.
maybe it's an LA thing.
on? No, I think it's a Korean thing, right?
Koreans find a lot of
Korean pride.
identity.
Yeah, Korean
there's a lot
identity,
of
Korean
No,
pride.
because why I'm saying that is when I compare to like Japanese or Malaysia or Taiwanese students, they kind of mingle better.
Yeah,
You know, but
Japanese kids, they end up like
they
being
really
with other
do.
Asian Americans.
So I think it's a misconception when people say Japanese students, their English pronunciation is bad. Actually, they were much better compared to, I'm talking about the average wise, because they kind of mingle really well. But Koreans like to hang out with each other, like, so some of them don't even end up learning proper English and go back to Korea because they
I know, yeah.
hang out with
Yeah.
more Koreans. But
So you're one of the rare few, but you're from Canada and all that stuff.
No, like I went because of high school. I think when I first came to USC, I was hanging out with my high school kids. But then, like, it was interesting because I drifted back into the Korean community
You did?
throughout. Yeah, it was really interesting. Yeah.
Why is that?
And I heard that it happens. I was talking with, Detroit Tigers, Major League Detroit Tigers scout. He was a Korean American. And he said he used to have a lot of, other ethnicity friends up until high school. But once he went to college, it became predominantly Asian friends and then predominantly Korean friends, Korean American friends. It becomes that way, right? We become somehow more racial when we're supposed to get along better with each other, right?
Yeah, for me, the reason was because when you first get into college, people are always trying to connect with the people
for
who
sure.
were also admitted and also going to the same college. And like people group each other based on like their commonalities, right? And then the first like main commonality is your race, like your cultural identity. And so people grouped themselves in like group chats for Koreans, group chats for like Hispanic people, like all of that. And then as a result of that, those friend groups carried over into real life.
I don't think, I think it's less of a racial thing, but more of a comfort thing.
Okay.
And also a commonality thing. We
Right.
all have similar parents, who
Yeah.
would want us to be doctors and lawyers, number one, right? That's one similarity. They care about education and they always send us kimchi. So that's three commonalities
That's
that
true,
we have where
right.
we could band together and share our kimchi.
You're right.
Yeah.
We're eating same food, right?
Exactly.
So that's
and we
why.
smell the same too.
Or can you also, analyze it this way? We tried other races, but we came to the conclusion that our own is the best.
I think it's more of a
I'm just
comfort
kidding.
level thing. I think
Yeah,
it
it
is
is.
more than
I
anything
agree.
else.
I think so too.
We got about a minute and a half right now, and I want to give you guys time to go ahead and tell us what your future plans are for this organization, as well as each of you, what your career goals are, what your goals are, real quick. Let's start with Andrew.
Okay, I can go with our organization first. So our organization, Korean Career Oriented Student Organization, it's one of the Korean organizations at USC that really focuses on professional development from undergrad years. And we have a strong emphasis on trying to just create a network of students that are willing to, sit down together to think about, okay, what do we want to do in the future? And amidst of that, we really value that USC is in like near Koreatown,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of Koreans in our Korean community, right? So we also want to serve our Korean community. So we try our best to do volunteering events, go out to Koreatown and try to clean the streets, or we try to do volunteering events. Yeah, so we just want to grow together as a community in a professional way.
Okay, great. We were going to ask you something else, but then we're going to have to move on over to Chloe. Chloe, tell us a little bit. You're going to be taking over the reins on the VP position, right?
Yeah, I think we're just trying to progress a little bit more, make the positions a lot more clear within the group, because KCOSO had dwindled down to a very small amount of people after COVID. And then it kind of revived itself after like freshman year, and we like kind of all got back on campus. And I think like situating ourselves a little bit more in the community, making ourselves more known in USC is going to be our next goal.
That's great. And I hope you guys succeed in med school and all that stuff and more. And we hope to see you guys here more often than not as well. We'd love to be a part of it. If you're looking for volunteer services, we need someone to vacuum here. So you can help us with that. I'm kidding, guys. You know what? Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
stopping by. We wanted to talk with young people. We did, and we feel younger.
I feel older. I feel older than ever now.
How many members, by the way, altogether?
We have right now like 29, 30-ish, yeah.
Oh, okay. Right,
So if you're watching and you want to be a part of this, look it up. It's the Korean American Career Oriented Student Organization of USC.
Yeah.
And that's it for us today.
Okay, thank you very much.